So welcome to my Wednesday morning ramble. For those of you who were here yesterday, you may have noticed that I'm actually in the same vine as yesterday, but a slightly different angle, because I haven't actually showed you everything in this vineyard. So we're up in the Roch vineyard, and we're about 5-minute drive outside of Tuchan, going up the Roch mountain. So the Roch mountain actually rises to about 900 meters around here, and in this vineyard we're at about 350. So this is where we were yesterday. This is where Jean-Marc was cutting the grass before he had his unfortunate incident with the tractor. Just to let you know, the tractor is all fine now, it's all back up and running. And this is where we were ploughing in between those old vines, so you can see lovely soil that's been freshly tilled and is already really dry. So we will take a look at that. Over in this direction, behind those hills, is Narbonne. And if I pan round, over in this direction is the Roussillon and Perpignan and a tree. And behind there, the Mediterranean Sea. It would be a lovely day for a dip today. I don't know what it's like in England or in the UK or wherever you're watching me from. Here, it's already 20 degrees. Let's just have a quick little competition here. So let's have a look. We've been looking at the vine leaves, so I just thought I'd show you this leaf. Oops. Stay with me. Could do with my little helper today. So what do we think to this one? Very waxy on the top. See that? Really waxy. Very thick actually. Only 3 lobes on it. Quite a big stalk. Turn it over. No leaves at all. No hairs at all. Any ideas on that? And then we're going to start rambling. Look at that, lovely. Right, here we go. So I'm going to give you a clue on that leaf actually. I don't know if anybody's going to get it or not. Grenache, no, not Grenache. It's actually from the fig tree. It was a fig leaf, so not a little vine leaf this morning, but a fig tree from these wild fig trees that grow around the vineyard. So they grow when there's a bit of water. So down here there is a little stream. There's no water in it at the moment, but that's our lovely fig tree. So we get the figs, ripe figs, just around about harvest time, coming up to harvest. So, and we got so many of them. If anybody's got any good recipes for figs, please send them over, because we need them. We have so many figs coming up to harvest time. So here we are, just going through the old vines. This is my Carignan and Grenache that's 110 years old that we saw yesterday. And we were in this vineyard yesterday, and I just want to take you to another part of the vineyard that we didn't see yesterday. So as we go down here, we're actually going to go over there, over the hedge into that bit. So as we go down, you can look at these lovely soils here. So this is scree, so we've got limestone scree and almost like sand. It's so dry here, so it's dry already even after all the rain we've had. This vineyard drains really well, which is great for not getting any vine disease like mildew or odium. Down to the bottom of this vineyard. So this was my first Fitou vineyard. We're in the appellation Fitou. So this vineyard was actually on the 1948 map of Fitou when the appellation was first created. And these vines are 110 years old. So that was my first purchase in the village of Tuchan, and it allowed me to make Fitou wine. So Fitou, a blend of Carignan and Grenache. So in this vineyard we have the old vine Carignan and Grenache, but I also needed some SYRAH. So welcome to the neighbouring the neighbouring vineyard, which I purchased just the following year. And this is a lovely 1/2 hectare of old vine SYRAH. So the SYRAH here, it's 45 years old, so a little bit younger than the Carignan and the Grenache. And that's because the Fitou appellation didn't require SYRAH to be in the blend of Carignan and Grenache until about 30 years ago. So until then it wasn't really planted some farmers started planting about 45 years ago to be ready for the change in the Fitou appellation, and we were lucky enough to be able to purchase one of these old vine vineyards here in Tuchan. So probably some of the oldest SYRAH in the village. As you can see, it's trellised on wires here, and that's because the SYRAH, if you don't trellis it, it will sprawl. It's a sprawling vine, whereas the Carignan and the Grenache, the shoots go upwards if you leave it, so you can do the bush vine or the gobelet. With the SYRAH, if you left it and didn't put in wire into the wires, it would be all over the floor. Just look at that. The wind is at 40 kilometers today, so it's still too strong to go out and protect the vines. So we're actually, today we're putting the shoots into the wires here so that they don't get broken off by the wind. So a question here is, how old do the vines have to be before you can make wine for them? They have to be 3 years old before you can actually pick the grapes and make wine from them. So we don't have that problem here. Apart from the little replacement vines that we put in, we wouldn't pick the fruit from them for 3 years. But on our old vines, they're so well established. They've got an amazing root structure here. So this is a SYRAH. Those of you who were here yesterday, Jean-Marc commented that my vineyards here are like bonsai vineyards, and you can see that again here, quite small, even after 45 years, still very small. And here, for those of you who were here on Monday when we actually saw the flowering of the grapes, you can see here we're not anywhere near the flowering at the moment on the SYRAH. That's because we're a little bit higher up. We're at 350 meters. So I'd say it's going to be another week or so before that flowers here. And that also has a knock-on effect. It means that we will pick this vineyard. This is one of the last vineyards that we pick. The Carignan, the SYRAH's picked just before the Carignan and the Grenache, and this vineyard here, which is the Carignan and the Grenache, the old Carignan and Grenache. That's our last vineyard that we pick. So always picked last, that one. So just show you the work that goes on in the wires. So here you can see this is a row that they've actually tucked the branches into the wire. So if I stand here, there's no branches that you can see that are like flopping around in the wind. Yeah, Brad, it is an absolutely wonderful, glorious morning here. So these have been neatly tucked in to the wires. See that? And that's to stop them breaking, because these shoots are so fragile at the moment. So you can just see still the top shoots coming out on the SYRAH, but are much smaller than the ones down on the plain. So in total I've got 14 different tiny plots of vines all scattered around the village of Tuchan. So we normally pick the grapes, we start with the whites at the end of August, and then we pick right through to mid-October. So we don't have any specific dates, it's literally as and when each parcel is ready to pick. So we don't sort of start one day and keep picking. We may have a couple of days where we stop because it's all hand picked. So we may stop and then we may start again when the grapes are ready in a particular vineyard. Have you got any plans for starting a new grape variety? Thanks very much for that. I know you're over in Canada and it's about 2:30 in the morning, I think you said. So great that you got a question in as well. No, we have quite a range of varieties in Domaine Jones's portfolio at the moment. So we have unusual grapes like Carignan, Grenache, Carignan Gris, Carignan Noir. We have Macabeu, we have a little bit of Muscat. So we can only use the traditional grapes because all my vines are old vines. So unless we come across another vineyard here of old vines that we haven't discovered yet, we pretty much have all the grape varieties. And that includes the hairy Grenache. We do a single variety hairy Grenache as well. So is harvesting getting earlier with climate change? It is. When I speak to Jean-Marc and Roger, his dad, who you met the other day, they remember, or his dad remembers picking in October, like starting in October, and with just a degree of the grapes of about 12 degrees. So we now pick a couple of months earlier and our degrees are up at 14. So yes, it is changing. It means that these altitude vineyards like this one here at 350 meters are really useful because they ripen later because of the altitude. So they keep our wines lovely and fresh too. Just having a bit of a breather coming up the hill. The soils, they have changed slightly compared to where we were just over in the other vineyard. There's a redness that's come into the soils, a bit of iron and trias in there. But as you can see, lots of pebbles, lots of stones. This means somebody's in the row, so it's a bottle of water, and that's from Christine, who are out there today. And what they're doing, so this is what I was going to show you, how we're doing for time. Ooh, I better hurry up. This is one that they've done here, so all nicely tucked in. And this is one that they're just doing. So if you look down the row, you can see those branches sort of flailing, is that a word? In the wind. And so we need to protect those. Hello, Diane. Coming up to the top of this lovely SYRAH vineyard. So we're in the Fitou appellation. And just if Nikki, I think Nikki is there, aren't you, Nikki? Just to bring back your memories, this is the fence. So this is the fence. With Nikki, we're doing a very serious interview about my vines and the age of my vines, looking out at the view. It was coming up to harvest time, and Nikki unfortunately lent her camera on the top of this metal fence, which was actually, and then put her feet along the electric fence here, causing a circuit for electricity, and she got the biggest shock ever. And it's all on film as well, because we were filming, and just suddenly the camera flies up in the air and there's a massive wow. But I might post that video up, Nikki, if you like. Perhaps we can just have another laugh. It was such a funny moment once we'd realised that she was okay. So why was SYRAH added to the Fitou AC? That's a nice one from Slow Boris. And it was actually added because it was thought to be a grape that improved the blend. So the blend before was just Carignan and Grenache, so the traditional grape variety. I say just, it was at the time when the yields were really high, so we were getting very mediocre quality from the Carignan and the Grenache. And in order to improve the quality, they decided to allow the SYRAH grape, which is seen as a cépage améliorateur, or a cépage which improves the quality. So we're able to add, it is limited though, you can only put a maximum of 40% in a blend of Fitou. And I think that's great because it really keeps the traditional character with the Carignan and the Grenache in Fitou. And it's the only appellation that actually does that, that has that high percentage, or limits the percentage of SYRAH to 40%. Vanessa says, do you think that because you organic farm and only take a low yield, this increases the lifespan? I think definitely. We're not working these vines hard anymore. We're letting them produce just a small amount of grapes. So we're giving them a lovely sort of gentle lifestyle in their old age, and we're not overworking them, definitely. Lots of questions. So Adam, nice one here. How does the altitude help or hinder the vines? So it's a little bit cooler, so it definitely gives us some grapes that are fresher, or the wine coming from these vineyards is fresher because we're higher up, so they ripen later. So that definitely helps, especially with the climate change that we were talking about earlier. One here from Richard and Jill. What do you use to tie the shoots to the wires? So we're using just little cardboard clips to, if we need to. Otherwise, they're just supported by the wires. So we actually pull the wires out and trap the shoots in between the wires, and then clip the wires back onto the poles. So that keeps them there. If there is something that, you know, a bit too big or a bit too short that we can't get in, then we have little cardboard clips that we put in. A lovely question from Helen, Knackered Mother. If you had to pick a favourite grape to work with, what would it be and why? That's a really difficult one. I think, you know, we like challenges, Definitely, we never take the easy road. So I think I'd go for a very rare grape variety, which would be the Carignan and Grenache. The Carignan and Grenache is a complete pain in the bum because it ripens really late. So it ripens after every single grape has ripened. It's the last variety to ripen, but it's actually a white grape. So we make white wine. So literally mid-October, after we've picked all the reds, we go back out and pick the Carignan and Grenache. And that gives me an idea, Helen. Why don't I go to the Carignan and Grenache vineyard perhaps tomorrow or the next day, and I can actually show you the vineyard, and then I can tell you a little bit more about that. I'll do that. Excellent idea. Carignan and Grenache. Just because it's unusual, most people have ripped it up, but we've kept it going. So it's been lovely. See you tomorrow, same time, and it will be a different vine tomorrow. Bye.